Welcome on into the Utah Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle, Utah insider for KSL Sports. Back at it on a Monday. We had Kyle Whittingham's press conference earlier today, so this is our In Whitt's Words episode where I talk through some of Whittingham's comments, add some context, shed some light where I can, and just kind of pick apart his press conference and what he had to share. And obviously, this week, this is a big week for Utah football. Number 17, Cincinnati Bearcats will be in Salt Lake City, I think for the first time in a really long time at the very least. But this is a unique opportunity, top 25 matchup. And Bearcats are playing great football, really, really good football. I've been a big fan of Brendan Sorsby since I watched his film over the summer. And still, even surprised that they're playing as well as they are. They've ripped off 7 straight wins, and because it's not just Sorsby making plays, there's tremendous balance, both sides of the ball, really. So this is going to be a big test for the Utes. But obviously, again, ESPN College GameDay coming to town again, which is always exciting, and Utah coming off of a pretty dominant win against Colorado, 53-7, with Byrd Ficklin just doing a really impressive job in his first start as a Ute. So, lots to get into here. We've got 5 things to hit on in this episode. So we'll start with the true freshman Byrd Ficklin and his comments, Kyle Whittingham's comments, in terms of what impressed him most. And this is something that we talked about on our Monday morning episode with me, with Bennett, and with Tyson. I think the most impressive thing about Byrd was just how he looked like he belonged on the field. He looked composed. He didn't look like a deer in the headlights. There was none of that. And I think Kyle Whittingham's comments sort of point to that as well. So let me pull up Kyle Whittingham at his press conference of what he had to share on his freshman lefty, which we all know, just lefties. It just, it's always good when you see a lefty just balling out like Ficklin did. So let me pull this up here. So Whittingham was asked again, what stood out most about Ficklin's performance? And here you go.
His composure and he's just unflappable. Nothing bothers him, and he is an intelligent young man, extremely intelligent. He's got pretty much the whole offense at his disposal, and that's saying a lot for a true freshman. And he's so athletic. That's another thing. It's something that is so makes him so difficult to defend. And such so much upside as a quarterback. He's so athletic. He's fast. He's quick. He can make people miss. He's tough. He can take hits, and he's got a really good arm. His arm talent was not really on display Saturday night like it really is. Most days in practice. I mean, he's got great accuracy and a strong arm. Wasn't real sharp in the throw game. His numbers were just okay throwing the football. But as he gets more time and down the road in the future, I think you're going to realize that he's got a really good, accurate, strong arm in addition to his athleticism.
So there you have it. Kyle Whittingham's comments on Byrd Ficklin. And I think I've shared this multiple times, but I remember the first opportunity I had to be up at spring ball and taking a practice and seeing Byrd Ficklin throw. Again, the first thing that stood out to me was just how the ball fired off of his hand with great velocity, great accuracy. And so, I think Kyle Whittingham has seen a lot of really impressive moments from Ficklin in practice in terms of his arm talent. So I think there's a lot there. Obviously, he came into this game 9 for 9 and made some really impressive throws in mop-up duty this season. But this was different, right? Coming into a game as a starter, getting that preparation, but also the opponent getting an opportunity to prepare for you as well. That's different. And we saw that with Texas Tech and Will Hammond and how he performed against, who was it? Was it Arizona State? I think it was Arizona State last week. And so, it's different, but still, Ficklin came in and, second play of the game, obviously a 63-yard run, athleticism popped. It just really impressive job by him there. But then, the passing game stuff, he started 1 of 7. And I think there was probably some concern about Was it going to be another one of those nights where Utah just they get a 7-point lead and sit on it the rest of the way, a la Utah versus UCLA in 2023? But he finally found a rhythm late in that first quarter, and from that point on, after starting 1 of 7, he went 9 of 15 the rest of the game, and 9 of 15 for I think it was 138, 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. So really impressive job by him once he settled down. Obviously, when you rip off a 63-yard run, second play of the game, especially as a true freshman, probably understandable that there's some adrenaline flowing. And I think once he was able to settle in, he got more comfortable, made some great throws. And, again, you saw the velocity, you saw the ability to push the ball with uh, with with that sort of velocity and what it was able to lead to for Utah. The back shoulder throw to Larry Simmons for the touchdown, the dart to JJ Buchanan up the sideline. That wasn't a deep throw. It was only, I think, 10, 12 yards. But again, he had to push it across the field. And so really impressive job by him. And obviously, with Coach Whittingham, a performance like that is going to go a long way in terms of their confidence and trust and belief in him. And I think Ficklin had an opportunity to really help himself in the eyes of the coaching staff, and he took full advantage of it. So this was a tremendous job by him, and obviously, leading the offense to its output with the rushing attack, leading the team in rushing yards with 151 yards and a touchdown to go along with his passing, what he was able to do. He earned not only freshman of the week in the Big 12, but offensive player of the week, which is the first time that's been done this season in the Big 12. So really impressive job by Ficklin. And I think he's created a lot of optimism, which was already high, but I think really solidified the optimism and confidence and belief in him moving forward as a central piece to the future of Utah football. So I think great place to start there with Byrd Ficklin and the conversation there, because it gets into the next conversation, and it's the it's the QB controversy. It's not a controversy, but the QB conversation, obviously with Byrd Ficklin performing the way that he did, and Devon Dampier. It's so interesting when you have these sort of conversations, right? The golden rule is that you don't lose your job due to an injury, but it just doesn't do justice to what Dampier has accomplished this year. It's he's performed great at times. Certainly, there's been moments where you're wanting more, but Ficklin will have those moments and those stretches as well, with more opportunity and more playing time. But I think Devon Dampier has done a fantastic job this season, and more so in terms of his leadership and owning things, bringing a positive attitude. That's so important in today's age where it's become so businesslike, to have somebody that can manage and handle the responsibility of being the face of a program, of a team, of an offense, all of the above. Dampier has taken it in stride. He's embraced the opportunity to be here at Utah, and I think he's done a lot to make this program to his, essentially. And Whittingham was asked about that in a way that obviously I think Utah will certainly look to get Ficklin more involved beyond just garbage time. But Whittingham shot down any notion that there's a QB controversy, and that's the right thing, because there isn't. There is no controversy here. Ficklin looked great, and that's a good thing, but there is no controversy with this quarterback room. So here's Whittingham's comments on the whole situation.
Well, I think the bottom line is, and always will be, which quarterback, which player for any position for that matter, gives you the best chance of winning. And if a 90% Devon Dampier we feel gives us a better chance than 100% Byrd, I'm not. That's just an example. Then we go with the guy that we think is gives us that best shot. And so I can tell you we got a lot of confidence in Byrd, especially after what we saw on Saturday night. But Devon is still QB1. Make no mistake, there's no QB controversy or of any sort. And we'll just have to measure Devon's progress day by day and see where he ends up. And, it's going to be, pretty much he's got a lot of input. And, he's an experienced vet. And Saturday night he just says, hey, I'm just not feeling it. I'm ready if you have to have me. He was ready for an emergency situation if it came to that. But we'll lean on Devon a lot to figure, how he's feeling, and he's going to do what's best for the team. Devon's a team guy, and so we'll just see how things progress.
So there you have it. Whittingham sharing and confirming a lot of things that we talked about on Saturday with Byrd Ficklin being the starter, Dampier being available in an emergency situation, and that. But I think it speaks to Dampier and what he's done so far. I think his leadership really was impressive Saturday night. I don't think we talked about it enough. What he did for Ficklin. Ficklin gave him a lot of the credit for helping him feel prepared for the opportunity. Dampier was talking to Ficklin throughout the night, pregame warmups, talking him through different things, different situations, and that continued throughout the night. And I think it was Bennett that shared this, on the podcast on Monday, that usually the first guy to celebrate Ficklin's success was Dampier himself. And I think, it takes a lot of leadership to do that. And I think that's a big deal. And Dampier, again, we're talking about this like he's struggled this season, and he hasn't. He's been dynamic. He was fantastic against Arizona State just a couple weeks ago in Rice-Eccles Stadium. And so it's just an interesting conversation. But Dampier was a leader, was a veteran. He has full command of the offense. That's clear. And I think, it's important to take Ficklin's performance for what it was. It was a great opportunity in a one-game situation. Now, perhaps maybe he'll have to step up again this week if Dampier doesn't progress health-wise the way that they're anticipating he will, maybe. But in that event, we'll get a much better idea of where he's at in his game if Ficklin does have to be the starter, because now Cincinnati has some film to evaluate and to prepare for even further. And that's going to be an interesting dynamic. But again, I think Dampier has done such a great job of, doing a lot to revitalize the vibes around the program. Obviously, it hasn't been a perfect season, but I think seeing this team bounce back the way that they have is due in large part to Dampier, his confidence, his understated, swagger, if you will, and what it's done for everybody around him. So I think that's the big key is you now know that you've got a guy in Dampier who he's a veteran. You also have a young guy that you can build with in the landscape that we're now in. It's certainly going to there will be additional conversations about this quarterback room down the road. But for now, Utah's in a great place with these two guys, and I think that's what matters most. Let's get to the next topic here, and I think it's important to probably start with College GameDay. Obviously, we'll talk about Cincinnati, but let's talk about ESPN College GameDay making the return to Salt Lake City for the first time since 2023. We all remember the last time. We don't need to rehash that game in 23 at all. But it's interesting, right? Because Utah's had Big Noon Kickoff here now, and now ESPN College GameDay. I think this is the first time that Utah has had both ESPN and Fox in Salt Lake City in a single season, which is just speaks a lot of the program, the brand, all of that. And I think it's a great opportunity again to highlight the program and what it's done, what it's accomplished, where it's at. This university and this is a bigger picture conversation, under President Taylor Randall, the University of Utah is undergoing just drastic changes up on campus. If you go up there, if you've been to a basketball game, if you go up on Saturdays, you're seeing just tons and tons of construction. And I think continuing to have the eyeballs on the program is so important for the future of the program. Because again, the university itself is evolving, and that's such an important step in this program's maturation, and evolution. I think there's going to be a much stronger on campus presence, in the near future, and changes are obviously going to continue as we talk about some of the other facilities, the John M. Huntsman Center, and the plans potentially to move and relocate the basketball arena, and what that could potentially lead to on campus as well. But there is this is so important for Utah to have these opportunities with Big Noon Kickoff and ESPN College Game Day being here. I think it's important for the fans to just embrace the opportunity, right? To have fun with it, to enjoy it. The team obviously needs to handle their business on Saturday, but that has nothing to do with the fan base enjoying, a little TV time, seeing the ESPN personalities and interacting with them and being up there having a good time. That's the most important thing that fans can do this week is just enjoy the opportunity. But obviously for Utah, I think there's a lot of concern about what game day and these national college football morning shows, what sort of impact it has on college football programs and teams throughout the week. There's been a lot of concern in as it being sort of a distraction. And I think Whittingham was asked about that specifically, and I thought he shared some interesting comments that shed some light on just kind of the week that is and how college game day itself goes about trying not to be too big of a distraction in that. So here, let me get to Whitt's comments here.
Just walk me through how, I guess, getting a national college game day is coming to town for this matchup. Just walk me through how, I guess, getting a national show like that. Obviously, Big Noon has been here multiple times for multiple games this year. I guess, just as a head coach, how do you kind of navigate, having that national attention, and does it create the possibility for any distractions during the week? I mean, just walk me through that.
Well, that's the thing you want to avoid is distractions, and those shows, they do a good job of not really being a distraction for your guys. I mean, the biggest distraction is guys just knowing that they're on, the center stage and having those guys come to town. So, but they're very non-invasive, and for the players especially, and they get it. And so it's good for the program, overall, in the big picture. It's great for the university, the program, the community, state of Utah. So I think it's got so many positive things to it, positive aspects. And as a coach, you just try to, early in the week, make sure that your guys understand that, hey, they're here, but it's business as usual, and we don't approach it any differently as far as our preparation. And that they got to be able to block out the noise and not get caught up in it, because we got a game to play and we got to prepare and go through our paces just like we always do.
So there's Kyle Whittingham's comments on ESPN College Game Day, and I think he shed some good light on kind of the week that is and how these morning shows, when they come to these college football programs, they try to be mindful and super respectful of the college football programs, the teams, the players themselves, not trying to be too demanding and distracting at all. And I think that's something that fans need to understand as well. So, I think that's valuable, but it's all going to be about, as Kyle Whittingham said, the players managing that on their own, right? Not getting distracted by the national stage. Even though they're not the TV show itself isn't necessarily demanding a lot of of attention. It's on the players to make that so as well, right? To not let to stay focused essentially on what is going on, the task at hand, and their preparation for Cincinnati. So that's going to be the big key and the big task for Kyle Whittingham and his staff this week, because they have a really tough opponent coming in the number 17 Cincinnati Bearcats. Again, like I shared earlier, I'm a big fan of Brendan Sorsby. Really liked his game and how he performed last year. And what Cincinnati has done is they've added some good pieces around him. They've found balance with the run game as well, which just wasn't the case last year. It was all Sorsby or nothing at all. And I think it's really turned into complementary football there for the Bearcats. And so, this is a big game and a big opportunity for Utah that they have to capitalize on. Again, with everything that still in play essentially for Utah in the Big 12 race, this is a must win. Every game on the schedule now is a must win, but this is one you absolutely have to have. And even more so for the perception of the program beyond just what it means in the standings. This is a big one. And Utah is going to have their work cut out for them because Cincinnati is playing really good football. And here's what Kyle Whittingham had to say about the Bearcats.
They're very balanced. You hit it all. Yeah, they're very balanced. You hit it all. Not all the positive, but things that they do exceptionally well, and they're also really good. Red zone touchdown percentage is over 70%. Balanced, as you say, nearly 200 yards rushing and about 280 or 90 throwing, scoring nearly 40 points a week, and they can hurt you different ways. But maybe the biggest RPO team that we faced as well. They really lean heavily on the RPOs, and so Coach Scally and the defense has their work cut out for them, but I got no doubt that we'll have a good plan, and it's just a matter of going out and executing. But they present problems. There's no doubt about it. They're one of the best offenses in the league.
So that's going to be the challenge for Morgan Scally this weekend. We saw what Scally was able to do this past weekend against Colorado, a very aggressive game plan. They blitzed over 70% of the time, got a pressure rate around 70%, as Kyle Whittingham said in his press conference as well. It was around 70% in terms of the pressure that they were able to get on Caden Salter. That could be key this week against Sorsby. It may also not be the case. Sorsby has done a fantastic job against the blitz, and so this is going to be a test for Morgan Scally in terms of how he adjusts his game plan to attack Sorsby, and that's going to be the big key for Utah. And this is obviously a big opportunity for the program, and with so much riding on this game, it's going to be really valuable for Whittingham and his crew to stay loose and just to remember to have fun with it. I think that's such an important thing, in college football, is to hang on to the fun that you can, right? And that's where we're at with this season. I think it's important to continue just enjoying things, and whatever happens, and let it be. But do your best just to enjoy the college football that we get. This is a good football team. It's a fun football team. And, they're going to have a great test and a great opportunity against the Bearcats to get a top 25 win in front of the home crowd in what's going to be just an incredible environment. I'm sure we're going to see something special in terms of the uniforms this weekend as well. I think dark mode is always a unique opportunity for Utah to pull out something special. So that'll do it for me. I'll be back with it tomorrow. I don't even know what tomorrow's episode is going to be, but we'll figure it out, because that's what we do, daily content here at the Utah Blockcast. I'm sorry I missed last week. Obviously Big 12 basketball media days. That was the reason why I didn't podcast last week. But good to be back with you. Appreciate everybody that supports the Utah Blockcast, and I'll be back at it tomorrow.